Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the source for fast foundational knowledge, custom-tailored for you.
Today, we're on a pretty critical mission, I think. We are trying to synthesize the absolute quickest path to functional language for anyone just starting out in English.
Yeah, and we're getting super specific. We are building the blueprint for what we're calling an English Money Masterclass.
And it's designed strictly for that A1, A2 beginner level. So no complicated stuff.
Oh, this is so critical because really, whether you're traveling for the first time or maybe you're applying for a job or you're just trying to figure out a supermarket in a new country, talking about money, prices, buying things, that's not just a skill, it's like an immediate survival need.
It is. It's the absolute core of just functioning in daily life.
And if you mess it up, it can be really stressful or, even worse, you end up overspending because you didn't understand something.
Exactly. It is the bedrock of every single daily transaction. And the source material we've got, it's this really robust stack of high-frequency word lists, basic grammar guides, and some really interesting learning methods.
Right.
And it all shows us the most efficient way forward.
So for a total beginner, the whole world of money words, it just feels endless. So where do we even start?
That's the key. Our scope has to be laser focused on A1, A2. We're being really ruthless here, prioritizing only the simplest sentence structures and the words you're going to hear and use constantly.
So the goal is confident communication now, not, perfect theoretical grammar 6 months from now.
Exactly. The challenge, and really the whole point of this deep dive, is to cut through the noise. Minimize that information overload, but maximize the practical instant use.
I like that. So the core value for you, the listener, is that we're basically giving you an instructional shortcut. We're showing you exactly which handful of words and grammar structures, all drawn directly from these proven ESL resources, are the most important for basic commercial English. The idea being that the learner moves really quickly towards speaking confidently in a shop or a bank.
That's the guarantee.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with the literal building blocks of commercial conversation. The vocabulary. If a beginner can only learn, say, 10 nouns and 3 verbs, which ones give them the most bang for their buck?
A great question. And our strategy begins by pulling those key financial terms directly from the lists of the most common words in English.
So these are words that define what it means to be at that A1, A2 level.
Precisely. They are high frequency because people use them all the time, whether you're in a shop, reading the news, or even just talking about your job. Mastering these first is absolutely essential for getting functional fast.
Okay, so let's start with the nouns, the things of money. The first building block has to be where we keep it, right? Bank.
Absolutely. The word bank is right there on the core word lists. And the context the sources give is so simple and direct. It's just a place where people keep and count money.
That's it.
That simple definition lets a learner immediately place themselves in the financial world. You can form simple sentences like, I go to the bank, or the bank is on that street.
It's functional. You can find one, you can talk about one, it's necessary.
Totally.
Okay, next up. The ultimate transactional noun, I think, price. This one's a non-negotiable.
Oh, for sure. It's also explicitly listed as a core word. We define it as simply as possible. How much something costs.
That's all you need.
It's a required noun for the most common question any shopper is ever going to ask. If you don't know the word price, you can't complete that loop. You're stuck.
Right. You can point, but you can't ask. Okay, what follows that?
Following very closely is bill. And in this basic context, the definition is super practical. It's the document, the piece of paper showing the money you owe.
Ah, so it links the physical thing you're buying to the actual concept of cost.
Exactly. You can imagine a simple restaurant scene, right? The waiter brings the bill. A learner who can just confidently say, I need to pay the bill, has just succeeded at a really common commercial task.
That's a win. A big win. Okay, we also found the word amount. This one feels a little more general.
It is, and that's why it's so useful. While, bank and price are very specific, amount is needed to describe general quantity.
For money or for goods?
For both. For example, what is the total amount? Or even something like, I need a small amount of sugar. Its flexibility makes it critical for daily conversation.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, this is where it got interesting for me when we were looking at the sources. The core lists include words like tax and trade. And for an A1 learner, that seems a little advanced, doesn't it?
It does on the surface, and that's a fantastic point to bring up. You might think, Why are we teaching tax when they don't even know the word for credit card yet?
Exactly. That was my question.
But the source material gives a really clear reason. A beginner might not need to understand, fiscal policy, but they will encounter the word tax every single time they buy something.
Oh, because it's on the receipt.
It's right there on the bill.
Yeah.
It's part of the final amount they have to pay. So we include it not as a complex economic concept, but just as another component of the price.
So they just need to recognize it.
Yes. All the learner needs to be able to do is see it on the bill and maybe ask, is the tax included? It's just part of the reality of buying things.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. It's a word they will see, so they need to know what it is. And what about trade? That one also felt a bit big.
Well, trade is included because it's the fundamental action of what commerce is. It's the exchange of goods. It's what buying and selling is all about.
So they might not use it in a sentence themselves like, I would like to trade this, but it gives them context.
Exactly. It provides the bigger picture for the financial world they're now operating in. It helps them understand that buying something is a form of trade. Money for goods.
I see. Okay, moving on to scale. I was also surprised to see really large numbers included in the core lists, specifically billion and thousand. Again, from an A1 perspective, I'm thinking, why these big words instead of just focusing on dollar or cent?
That's another great question. And the sources prioritize them because they are essential for understanding the world outside of the grocery store.
You mean like for reading the news or something?
Precisely. Even a beginner is exposed to news headlines or simple articles. And while their daily transactions might be in dollars and cents, the context in these ESL texts often includes simple sentences with big numbers.
Like the example we saw, something about a purchase of $10 million.
Right. Knowing thousand and billion gives them immediate access to understanding magnitude. It prevents them from getting completely lost when they see a big number in any kind of media.
So it's about expanding their general comprehension, not just their ability to shop.
Exactly. It's a key part of becoming fluent, not just functional.
Excellent. Okay, finally, let's talk about status. The sources describe this with very simple adjectives, rich and poor.
Yeah, and both of these are very high-frequency words. At the most basic level, these are just simple descriptors for financial condition. They're useful for expressing opinions or conditions that are related to cost.
So a beginner could say something like, that store is for rich people.
Or, he is poor, so he cannot pay the bill. They're simple, they're direct, and they're highly contextual. It's basic cause and effect.
Okay, so that gives us a really powerful set of nouns. What is that, 10 of them?
I believe so, yes.
Now let's switch to the key action verbs, the movements of money.
We identified 3 that are absolutely core. The first one is, again, non-negotiable. Pay.
Can't buy anything without that one.
You can't. And we emphasize this in the context of the customer giving money to complete the deal. A customer pays money for food. It's the essential action.
Simple. Okay, the next action is count. This one came from that context about a job, right?
It did. The example was about a father who works in the bank and he counts money. It's a really easy, regular verb that describes a very basic financial action. And it reinforces the connection to our noun, bank.
Right. It links those two concepts together. Okay, and the last one.
The last one is cost. And this word is so important because it links directly back to our essential noun, price.
Ah, okay. The price is what something costs.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating here is that cost is actually an irregular verb. It's on the list. Cost, cost, cost.
Which can be scary for beginners.
It can be, but the source highlights it because the form never changes.
Oh, that's a huge advantage.
A tremendous pedagogical advantage. So a beginner can ask, how much does it cost? Without having to worry about complex conjugations. It's a simple structure with a vital verb that's easy to use.
Wow, that is a great point. So we have our focused vocabulary, 10 nouns, 3 verbs. But as we both know, just knowing a list of words doesn't mean you can speak.
Absolutely not. And this is where we need to bring in the core methodology. The research we looked at just hammers this point home.
Yeah.
We have to move beyond isolated words and start using what are called lexical chunks.
Lexical chunks. Okay, explain that. If a student learns the word pay, why is it so much faster and better to learn the whole chunk, I need to pay the bill now?
Because it's a cognitive shortcut. Think about it. The sources show that when you learn words in isolation, your brain has to work really hard to use them in a real conversation.
Right, you're under pressure.
You are. Your brain has to stop, find the word, remember the grammar rule, conjugate the verb, and then finally speak. That little delay is what causes all the anxiety and hesitation.
That's that horrible stuttering moment everyone is afraid of.
Precisely. But when you learn the full chunk, I need to pay the bill now, your brain processes that entire sequence as one single unit, one piece of information.
So the grammar is already baked in.
It's all packaged together. The word pay, the verb need, the article, it's all one thing. The research suggests that learning this way makes the vocabulary up to 3 times easier to retrieve and use correctly in a real conversation.
Wow, 3 times.
It lets you bypass a lot of that slow, conscious grammar work. It's about getting that high-volume output almost automatically.
So the goal is to stop thinking of a transaction as word 1 plus grammar rule 2 plus word 3.
Yes.
And start thinking of it as just one fast, rehearsed action.
Exactly. The phrase is the new word. And that's the core lesson we have to carry with us into the grammar foundation.
Okay, so we have the word, we have the chunking philosophy. Now we need to make sure the underlying structure is correct, using the absolute simplest grammar rules for an A1, A2 learner. And we have to start with the skeleton of English, right?
We do. And that is the subject-verb-object pattern, the SVO pattern.
The simple independent clause.
It's the backbone of clear, direct communication. For a beginner, we have to just drill this constantly. They need to know that the actor, the subject, always comes first. Then the action, the verb. And then whatever receives the action, the object.
And we can apply this SVO structure directly to our new money vocabulary. Let's take that simple example from the sources. My dad works in a bank.
Perfect. My dad is the subject.
Right.
Works is the verb. And in a bank is just the extra information telling us where. Simple, direct, and anyone can understand it.
Or for a clear shopping action, a customer pays money for food.
Subject, a customer. Verb pays. Object.money. The rest is just context. We prioritize SVO because it guarantees the student will be understood even if they make small mistakes, like forgetting the A's on the end of a verb sometimes.
Structural clarity comes first?
Absolutely.
Okay, but just making simple statements isn't enough. A shopper always needs to quantify things, what they need, what a store has. This means they have to master a few of those little words, some, any, and one.
These little words are absolutely huge in transactional English. They express need, availability, and quantity. And the grammar blueprint gives us a really practical rule set here.
Which is that any is usually for negatives and questions.
And some is usually for positive statements. That's the basic rule of thumb.
And this is where we have to connect the grammar directly to the context of money. This is where countable and uncountable nouns can really trip people up.
Oh, it's a huge point of confusion. Money, as a general concept, is uncountable.
Right. But dollars, euros, bills, coins.
Those are countable. So you can ask, do you have any money? You're asking about the general uncountable concept.
Okay.
Or you could ask, do you have any dollars? Now you're being specific and countable. But the rule for using any in a question stays the same.
Let's build a detailed money chunk using that rule then. So if a student is short on cash, they could use any in the negative. Something like, I don't have any cash right now.
Perfect. And then they can use some in a positive request to a friend. Can I borrow some money from you?
So it covers both their limitation and their need in 2 simple sentences.
Exactly. And then we have to drill the use of the pronoun one. It's just a simple substitute to stop you from repeating yourself and sounding clumsy.
I hear this all the time from beginners. They'll say, I need a new pair of shoes, but I only have money for 1 shoe.
Right. Which is technically okay, but it's not efficient. If you learn the substitution, you can just say, I need a new pair of shoes, but I only have money for 1.
Where 1 just replaces pair or shoe.
Yes, it keeps the language clean and efficient, which is a key marker of moving up to that A2 fluency level.
Okay, now we have to tackle what might be the ultimate headache for English learners. The articles. A, an, the, or just. No article at all.
The dreaded articles, yes. Getting this right is the difference between asking for a generic coffee and asking for the specific coffee you were just talking about.
And in a shop, that's a really important difference.
It's highly contextual. The rules have to be taught in a really practical way, linking them directly to the act of buying something.
For things you can count, the rule is pretty straightforward. You use a or an for a general, singular item, usually the first time you mention it. I want a cookie. It can be any cookie. Then you use, when the item is specific or you've already mentioned it, I want a cookie. The cookie looks delicious.
Right. The real challenge, especially when we talk about money or general goods, is the zero article. No article at all.
And this is for general uncountable nouns or for plurals when you're speaking generally.
Right. And when you apply this to money, It means you're talking about the concept, not a specific pile of cash.
This needs a lot of practice. The source gave those examples like, I like XT, meaning tea in general. Let's apply that directly to a financial concept.
Okay, let's contrast the general versus the specific. If you're talking about money as an abstract idea, you use the zero article, for instance. X money is the root of all evil.
You're talking about the concept of money.
Exactly. But what if you're talking about the specific cash you need to pay your rent this month?
Ah, then it's specific. It's known to both me and my landlord.
So it needs the. You'd say, I need to get the money for the rent payment today. That distinction is crucial. Learning it helps students discuss general ideas like X food or X prices without getting terrorized over which article to use for an abstract idea.
Okay, this detailed foundation in SVO, quantifiers, and articles gives the learner the framework. Now let's see how we turn all of this into automatic, high-volume conversation.
Yes. This is where the learning methodologies we analyzed really come into play. They all strongly urge prioritizing speaking practice, what they call high-volume output, over just silent study.
This is about breaking through that fear, that psychological barrier of anxiety.
That's the #1 goal. So we have to embed all this grammar and vocabulary into 3 core real-life conversational scenarios for A1, A2 learners.
And these 3 scenarios seem to cover the key moments: gathering information, expressing a problem, and then closing the deal. The 3 moments a beginner is most likely to panic. Okay, let's start with scenario A. Asking the price. This is the moment the learner needs to pull out one of those lexical chunks using our price and cost vocabulary.
The target structure has to be an information question, one of the we questions. So we drill to 2 main variations. How much is this? Or what is the price?
And this forces them to use the verb to be correctly in a question. That simple formula. Question word plus verb plus subject. Okay, let's run a quick simulation. Let's say I'm a customer in a small grocery store.
I'll be the shopkeeper. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I see those red apples over there. How much is this apple?
That apple is 60 cents.
60 cents, okay. And what about the oranges? How much did those oranges cost?
The oranges, they cost $2 each.
$2? Wow, that is expensive. Do you have any cheaper fruit?
Okay, let's pause there. The analysis point is immediately clear.
Right.
As the learner, you successfully use 2 different but equally correct question structures. First, you use the verb to be. How much is this apple? Then you used our other core verb, cost. How much do those oranges cost? The fact that you correctly use the auxiliary verb do there shows a real understanding of how to form questions with main verbs other than to be.
And for an A1 speaker, that's a huge success. The conversation stayed in that very tight functional structure, which is exactly what that high-volume output approach is all about.
Exactly. Okay, on to scenario B, not enough money. This covers that moment of limitation, and it requires a negative statement.
So the core structure here uses the simple present tense negative, don't have, and the target phrase is the chunk, I don't have enough money.
Yes, and we can ground this in a memorable example from our source material about why some things are so expensive. The text mentioned that in remote places, like Alaska, food prices are incredibly high because, and I'm quoting, most food comes from the outside.
Right, so that gives us a real-world context for practicing this need versus limitation.
Let's try it. You're the shopper, and you're shocked by the price of milk.
Okay. I'd like to buy a carton of milk, please. I see the price is $8.
That is the correct price, yes. It's $8.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I only have $5 with me. I don't have enough money for the milk.
Perfect. And now we can elevate that just a little bit. We introduce the idea of combining sentences using simple connectors like so or but.
The coordinating conjunctions.
Right.
Right.
The ESL materials list these as very early stage connectors, and they give the learner so much more explanatory power.
So you move from just stating the problem, I don't have enough money, to explaining the consequence.
Exactly. For example, I want the expensive milk, but I don't have enough money. Or you can reverse it to show cause and effect. I spent all my money on the bill, so I cannot buy the milk.
By practicing that, a beginner can immediately start forming these short, compound sentences. That adds complexity to their speech without really sacrificing any clarity.
That's the goal. Okay, last one. Scenario C. Asking how to pay. This is that final, crucial stage at the checkout counter.
The modal question.
Yes. The target structure here uses the modal verb can to ask for permission or ability. So the simple phrase is, can I pay now? Or using our core vocabulary, can I pay with cash?
Okay, let's run the checkout scene. You're the cashier.
Okay, that will be $4 for the cabbage and the apples.
$4. Okay. Can I pay with this $10 bill?
Yes, certainly. Here is your change and your receipt.
Thank you.
So the pre-analysis point here is highlighting the difference in how questions are formed. When you ask about the action of paying, you use the modal can, followed by the simple base form of the verb, can I pay? No is, no ing, nothing.
Or the auxiliary do for a standard question like, do you accept credit cards?
Exactly. It's a very clean structure that doesn't require any complicated conjugation.
And it's so important to practice the intonation here, right? That rising tone at the end of a question like, can I pay now?
Absolutely. The sources really emphasize that. Refining your stress and intonation at the phrase level is just as important as choosing the right words. It's what makes you sound clear and confident.
So by focusing on these 3 high-frequency conversational chunks, the learner gets immediate real-world skills while also reinforcing all that grammar SVO, articles, quantifiers, and the core vocabulary all at the same time.
That's the integrated approach.
Which brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial element of all. How do you actually use all this to build real, lasting confidence and to do it quickly?
This is the hardest part for any beginner, right? Making that leap from studying knowledge in your head to actually using it in a fast, spontaneous conversation, it requires a really structured, deliberate approach.
And the consensus from all the sources we looked at was crystal clear. For A1 and A2 students, the main goal is not perfection. It's output over perfection. We have to fight the anxiety first.
Exactly. Learners get so paralyzed trying to remember a grammar rule before they speak. The resources all stress that high-volume speaking practice has to be the top priority. You will be understood even if your grammar isn't perfect.
And the source even noted that those little grammar rules, like the third person's is, they'll start to sink in naturally after you've had enough practice in a real context.
They will. That psychological barrier is so real. The fear of making a mistake directly stops you from becoming fluent. So by focusing on high-volume output with the chunks we identified, we break that cycle of hesitation.
And the study cited in the material suggested that this kind of structured practice can speed up progress by up to 3 times compared to just passive study.
It's huge. And to get that kind of rapid retrieval, the learner needs to use some systematic techniques for vocabulary retention. This means embracing active recall and spaced repetition systems, or SRS.
Active recall is so simple but so powerful. It just means testing yourself without looking at the answer. So instead of just reading the definition of price, you look at a picture of a price tag and force your brain to pull out the word price in the chunk. How much is this?
And that's where SRS comes in. Spaced repetition systems make sure that all this core vocabulary, price, bank, bill, sticks in your long-term memory by optimizing when you review it.
Right. It shows you the information just before your brain is about to forget it.
Maximizing efficiency with minimal wasted time. And the sources specifically recommended a couple of powerful tools for this, differentiating between 2 popular ones, Anki and Taldhammer.
Okay, let's break that down. Anki is known for being really powerful and customizable, right?
It is. It's a favorite for power users because you can design your own digital flashcards with images, audio, and most importantly for our masterclass, the full lexical chunks.
So a learner shouldn't just make a card for the word pay.
No. They should make a card for the full sentence, I need to pay the bill now, with the English audio on the front and maybe their native language translation on the back.
And Taldhammer was highlighted for a slightly different reason, more for its AI-powered contextual approach.
Right. It focuses specifically on sentences and chunks rather than single words from the get-go. And it uses an adaptive algorithm to make sure you're reviewing those money chunks at the perfect time for your brain to remember them.
But regardless of which tool you use, the core strategy is the same.
The flashcards must be lexical chunks. You have to learn the vocabulary and the grammar pattern all at the same time. When you learn, I need to pay the bill now, you're cementing the verb, the modal, the article, and the noun all in one single mental action.
This focus on high-volume output and automated recall brings us to the final, most critical recommendation from the sources. You have to engage in real interaction.
There is absolutely no shortcut around this. The fastest way to become conversationally fluent is through structured interaction that gives you immediate, precise feedback.
And this is better than just practicing with an app because a machine can't replicate the messiness of real conversation.
Exactly. It lacks that negotiation of meaning, the need to ask for clarification, the unpredictable nature of how people really talk.
You need a live person. And the sources strongly recommend using professional tutors, maybe on platforms like Reply, or finding language exchange partners through services like Tandem or Idioma.
A good tutor gives you dedicated, non-judgmental speaking time and can run you through customized, structured practice. For our Money Masterclass, a tutor could run those 3 transaction scenarios, asking the price, saying you don't have enough, and paying over and over again.
And they can correct those little mistakes in pronunciation or article use right away. The sources mention that these private lessons really help automate those daily tasks, like going to the bank or ordering food.
And even if a tutor isn't an option, a language exchange partner is still invaluable. The key is what the sources call an actively negotiated conversation. You're not just reciting lines, you're reacting, you're trying to make yourself understood in real time.
That dynamic practice is what makes the learning stick.
It is. So the methodology for an A1, A2 learner is clear. Practice the simple money phrases we identified, focus on your output volume using the chunking technique, and use an SRS tool to cement that core financial vocabulary into your active conversational memory.
Just dedicate maybe 20% of your study time every single day to pure high-volume speaking. Run those transaction scenarios until they feel totally automatic. That's the path to accelerating your mastery.
So, to quickly summarize our English Money Masterclass blueprint for beginners, we identified those 10 essential high-frequency money nouns.
Bank, price, bill, amount, tax, trade, billion, thousand, rich, and poor.
And we paired them with those crucial action verbs like pay, count, and cost. Then we showed how to put them together using that reliable subject-verb-object structure and the necessary little words like some and any.
And maybe most importantly, we learned that true mastery at this beginner level comes from shifting your focus away from slow, painful grammar theory and toward high-volume output using those lexical chunks. Practice those core transaction phrases. How much is this? I don't have enough money. And can I pay now? Until they feel like single automatic units of speech.
And this quick mastery of just basic transactional English, it has these profound implications that go way beyond the checkout counter. The sources are very clear that improving your English skills gives you access to the opportunities you deserve.
This is the ultimate connection, right? Moving from just daily necessity to real ambition. The next logical step after asking for the price of an apple is moving into the professional world.
It is.
If you're fluent in these basic concepts, discussing an amount that is owed, confirming a bill has been paid, or understanding a cost, you are suddenly equipped to talk about work, to negotiate a salary, to manage basic business communications.
That confidence is what allows you to transition from being just a shopper or a tourist to becoming what the sources called a money earner.
I love that phrase.
The ability to discuss work and compensation with simple clarity is fundamental to professional success. Mastering the basics of commercial interaction is truly the first step toward that much bigger professional goal.
That's a really powerful framework for success. So let's make it actionable for you, the listener, right now. You now have the toolkit of chunks and words. So our engagement challenge for you is this. Think about what you usually buy every single week. Can you describe that item, state its price, and then use one of your new simple phrases, maybe to say you don't have enough money or to ask how to pay, and just practice saying that full sentence out loud 3 times.
Confidence really does come with consistency and volume. Start practicing those chunks today.
We really hope this deep dive helps accelerate your journey to conversational English fluency. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.